We've got ourselves a new Volkswagen Golf GTI. We also answer your questions about buying an SUV for your family and buying trucks for sons. Next on Talking Cars. Hi everybody and welcome to Talking Cars with Consumer Reports. I'm Tom Mutchler.
I'm Gabe Shenhar.
I'm Mike Quincy.
And I'm Ryan Pizlikowski.
We buy a lot of test cars here at the track, but I've got to say I was kind of excited, all of us were kind of excited for the one that's parked behind us now. This is the 7th generation 2015 Volkswagen Golf GTI. Now, like I said, we were all excited about it, but then sitting around the lunch table the other day, Mike Quincy said something that kind of took me by surprise.
I said, Tom, I've got this great editorial for the next podcast. I think the GTI is thumbs down. It's not that big a deal. You take out the GTI steering wheel, the GTI badging, and put me in it, and I'd think, this is a redesigned Golf. There's nothing sporty about this car.
Well, it is a redesigned Golf.
But that's just it, though. It doesn't feel like as the whole thing of the GTI, the steering, the handling, the sound, the feedback. It just felt like a garden variety Golf.
Gabe?
Well, there's certainly some validity to what Mike's saying, because this GTI is kind of it's refined. There's nothing in your face here. There's no loud exhaust. There's no. It certainly doesn't crash into every pothole like my Mark I and Mark II GTIs did.
Potholes would eat your Mark I.
Yes. So it's a grown-up kind of a GTI. It's a gentleman's kind of a GTI. It's kind of growing with its clientele, and it's, you know, the GTI has always been kind of a lower price alternative to a BMW 3 Series, and look where the BMW 3 Series is today, and the GTI is not that far behind.
In price or in demeanor?
In its character.
Ryan, what do you think? I mean, you've been a big GTI fan.
Yeah, oh yeah. What I see they did here is similar to the Mini Cooper S. They took some of that, a little bit of that edge it had, the sporty edge out of it, and it's very comfortable on the street. We were talking before, like the WRX is miserable. This is, you could put a 10-year-old in this thing and they could drive it. The clutch,
we don't recommend you put a 10-year-old in this car.
Don't do that. It won't end well. But you know what I'm saying? The shifter, everything's easy to drive. My biggest complaint about the GTI is the steering is embarrassing.
Embarrassing?
For this type of a car, it's just it's numb. It's very artificial. You put it in the sport mode and it gets a little heavier, but that doesn't give you steering feel. That gives you another, you know, it just doesn't. To me, the steering is not good. But the rest of it, to me, it's sporty. Once you wind it up and you get going, it's a fun little car.
Gabe, where do you come down on the steering?
Well, the steering is a common phenomenon these days. It's, I mean, the move industry-wide to electric steering is of course taking out some feedback. I mean, some manufacturers are better at it than others. I think Volkswagen and Audi are among the better ones here. I mean, of course, it's not to the level of. I mean, hell, my Mark I GTI didn't even have power steering.
Yeah, sure.
So, and it's not to the level of even, you know, the 15-year-old, the GTIs nowadays. It doesn't have the same feedback, but it's pretty, I don't think many people are going to complain about it. It's pretty decent.
Okay, so that brings us back to you, Mike. Does all this make the car bad? Does all this not make the car worth the premium over a normal Golf?
It doesn't make the car bad. The car is livable. It's comfortable.
It's livable.
Well, it is unlike the first generation GTI with just the stock suspension. You crashed over every bump. You don't crash over bumps with this. But that being said, this new GTI, it's quiet, it's comfortable, but it isn't fun. If I want just a quiet, comfortable car, I can get a Jetta. I can get a Honda Accord. But when I think GTI, I want something fun. You mentioned the Mini Cooper S. When I get in that car, I love it. I think it is a ball to drive. The steering is much better.
The steering is better.
The feedback, the sound, you put it in the sport mode in the Mini Cooper S, and the exhaust burbles and pops, and it really brings back the fun. There's none of that, from my opinion, in this car.
I think if you want real fun, you go to the Fiesta ST. You go
Oh,
to
hell yeah.
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 That car is exactly almost what the GTI Mark I was.
And what
I mean,
about a
in
Focus?
sound and
What about the Focus
Focus
ST?
ST? Yeah, that too. Yeah, I mean,
Is that's not as refined though, right?
No, I'm more partial to the Fiesta ST.
I
That's,
think we all are.
I think I saw it on the list for sale. I'm a little upset.
Yeah, it's time to sell.
the Fiesta ST is really a
Yeah, that
sweet
was a
car.
blast.
I mean, that
Absolute
is
blast. That's, like you said, that's earlier generation GTIs all the way. But
it's. I mean, sure. I mean, it's not a boy racer kind of a car. This GTI. I mean, you want a boy racer kind of car, you can go Fiesta ST. You can go Subaru WRX. I mean, it'll beat the crap out of you on the road, but it's probably. I mean, it's killer handling and braking performance on the track, and it's got the sound.
You can't drive the WRX slow. I mean, it just you can't. It's got a hair trigger throttle. It's
or
like,
smoothly.
You try to get it. You try to get out of the garage, and the turbo spools. You know, it's like.
Yeah. Well, you have to get over the turbo lag, and then you get like, you know,
Well, it's
full.
all-
It's full
yeah,
on.
it's all hard.
Yeah.
I mean, here's where I come down on the car. You know, Mike said that at lunch. I'm like, I will prove Michael wrong. That's
the way it goes
That's
here.
just the way it is. That's the law of the land. I took the car out. I took it for a long drive. I'm like, you know what? This feels like an Audi. I would much rather buy a GTI than an Audi A3 if you can live with the hatchback. First of all, you can get a stick shift in this, and we got a stick shift in this.
That's a big selling.
Where the A3, you're stuck with DSG. This has some of the best seats I've sat in a long time. Our Autobahn has power leather seats. They're terrific. The car is quiet. The car has all the modern features you'd want. It's got a bigger back seat. It's got a bigger trunk. Notice I haven't said anything about the fun yet. It is a tremendously competent car. It has a pile of power when you stand on it. You know, I'm not going to complain about the steering. It's, you know, it does pretty good. It's not, but, you know, at the end of the day, I don't feel about this car the way I feel about like the Cadillac ATS.
Right.
And you can make all the cranky comments you want about me going on again about the Cadillac ATS. It doesn't have that steering feel. It doesn't have the steering feel of the Fiesta ST. Or BMW, the RM235i. But I mean,
And people are going to argue, you know, steering feel is, not everyone understands that, blah, blah, blah. But when you get into a sporty car, to me, that's one of the first things. You know, the initial turn in the car, does the car dart over? Do you get that, right away you get that sporty feeling, and this just doesn't have that.
To put it in perspective, we're still talking about the first generation GTI. I guarantee you, a few years, we won't be talking about this. It's not that memorable.
But, you know,
it's forgettable.
I got to tell you, I'm very suspect of memories. Because we're old, you know.
Yeah, but
I mean, let's
there are
face it.
certain cars that are built by manufacturers that are special. This
If that
isn't special.
GTI came out today, you would drive and say, oh my God, this thing's a pile.
Too stiff, yeah, sure.
It's too slow.
Yep.
I looked up the numbers. It weighs the same as a Mitsubishi Mirage. It's about the same size as a Mirage. It's only a second quicker, and that's not quick. You know.
I mean, that car was not about numbers. It was about feelings and sensations.
I don't know if nowadays we'd like that. I think we'd say it's too.
I think it
much.
was also, that was the first car, one of the first cars of that type, so it made more of an impression.
That's
And
true.
back
It was
then.
it was a depressing as
Exactly.
hell time for
Right.
cars. I mean, you had Camaros that
Exactly.
didn't get out of their own way.
Right. So this was a fun little, you know, front-wheel drive German car that did have the steering and
It's like the
ride was
grandfather of all hot hatches.
Right.
But there are cars we reminisce about, and even in the last 10 years, we'll say, oh, you know, that BMW 5 Series, early 2000, what a great car that was. We're not going to say that about this. We're not going to say this was a great car. It was a competent car. Is it great?
It was a hell of a good car. I'm willing to say it's a hell of a good car.
This one?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm willing to say that.
Meh.
Meh.
Meh. That's
Meh.
the word of the year is meh. That's that. You take out GTI and put in MEH. That's it.
Ooh.
Wow. Angry comments. Go to Mike Quincy on the YouTube. So GTI's grown up. It's gotten a little more mature. Make of it what you will. Let's move on to reader questions. Stephen P. has been trying to ask for this for the last couple of weeks, so I feel the need to actually answer it. My family and I currently have a 2012 Mercedes GL 450 and are looking for a worthy replacement. We're thinking of downsizing, but the GL is such a wonderful vehicle, we may get a 2013 pre-owned BlueTech. For a family of 5, we're looking at a Dodge Durango Citadel, GMC Acadia Denali, Infiniti QX60. Ryan, you've said before you like the GL. Actually love the GL.
Get a BlueTech.
Yeah.
Get the BlueTech. That's such an awesome vehicle. If you already had, you know,
Well,
you
he had
want
the
to
previous
downsize.
generation. He's going to
Yeah.
get the new one.
You're not downsizing, obviously, but I just couldn't go to any of those other vehicles after having that.
What I want to know, it's a 2012 GL and it's only 2014. What's wrong with the 2012?
I'm guessing maybe it was leased.
Maybe it's
Yeah,
this.
and he's
I
looking
think
at
a lot of them are
premium,
leased.
all the other premium models, or you know, trims of those models. But I couldn't step down from that GL. I mean, could you?
Well, I own. You may remember. I may have mentioned in a previous episode. I own a Dodge Durango. There's pros and cons. You know, the Durango's going to be cheaper to fix.
Well, if they want downsizing, then the ML is probably the only alternative.
Well,
there.
he's got 3 kids, so I think they're family 5, so I think they need the third row seat and maybe the extra cargo.
Third row in the GL is perfect.
Then it's only the Durango, I think. I don't think the Acadia and Traverse are really showing their age.
And the QX60 is going to feel kind of.
Ooh.
Yeah, I mean, it's a totally competent car. It just feels kind of.
It feels cumbersome and ungainly.
Yeah, it's not fun to drive. Now, to be fair, I do have to give the caveat. Consumer Reports, we did test it. The GL Blue Tech that we had, the 2013 GL 350 Blue Tech, did not do well in our avoidance maneuver.
It didn't.
It has not good stability control programming. It locks up the front wheels. It plows straight. That and probably reliability and cost of keeping this thing going are the black marks on that car. It's not going to roll over. In fact, it's really trying hard not to roll over. But we do have to say that.
Okay.
A Durango, it's cheaper, it's not as quiet, it does not ride as well, it doesn't have quite the space. I mean, I'm all for the Durango, but GL, it's in another league.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Henry Stone. I'm looking to buy a car for my 18-year-old son who just got his license. His 3 favorite vehicles are either a 2000-2002 Range Rover, a 1992 to 1996 Ford Bronco, obviously an O.J. Simpson fan, or a 2002-2009 Chevy Avalanche. Which of the 3 do you think is best? And what are your suggestions?
None of them.
Wow. We all kind of snickered when you mentioned the Range Rover 18-year-old. Beverly Hills, I don't know. Bye.
Well, let's start with the Range Rover. It's going to be a nightmare to fix.
You're going to need a 24/7 mechanic on call.
Yeah, I understand where he's coming from.
I think if you want a hobby, you know,
Yeah.
if you want something to fix and you're going to mail order parts and do it yourself, and you
yeah,
don't need
and
it
it could
to
be
run
a neat,
every
it's,
day.
yeah, it's a neat thing.
Not to mention a private gas station.
The Bronco is just not going to be safe. I mean, that's just a
It's an
death
antique.
trap.
None of
Yeah,
these.
that's an antique almost. Well, it is by now.
Yeah.
Sure.
And
It's going to be hard to find a good one.
Yeah, and then an Avalanche. I mean, well, all 3 of them are horrible on gas.
Can't see out of the Avalanche.
But an 18-year-old
The
driving
Avalanche
a
is probably
truck?
the Avalanche is probably the best of those 3, but they're all
Damn, yes, absolutely. Yeah, to answer the question, the Avalanche is by far,
Yeah.
believe me, by far the best choice of the 3, especially the later generation, 07,
Right.
08, 09. You got to get one with a backup camera because you can't see behind
No.
the thing because of
And it's got stability control, which is
Yeah,
the
I think
one item that is a must for an 18-year-old.
Yeah, see, there's the thing. I think the next show we're going to do, one of the next few shows we have to do is buying cars for your kids because we've got to sit down and lay out what we think makes a good car for a kid. Stability control is a big one. You're not going to get that in the Bronco. I think the Range Rover had it, but it won't be running enough for you to actually use it. I think it was standard on most Avalanches because I think our first generation Avalanche may have had it.
But would you even say to this parent, or 18-year-old, none of these are really good
Yeah, but what do you
choices.
say? I mean, I don't want to be the jerk who says, hello, I am Consumer Reports being very cynical and, being very practical. You must get a Hyundai Sonata. You know, you should get a mid-sized, practical 4-door sedan with stability control and side curtain airbag. I mean, these are all kind of cool.
Yeah, but Gabe has kids that are driving. My oldest son is about to start driving. Now, I'm going to be the Consumer Reports geek and says inexperienced drivers should not be in hulking big.
Right. I have no problem saying to this guy, father to father, don't get any of these. I mean, there's one choice that's pretty obscure. It's probably an Acura TSX from '09. You get that. It's really easy to buy. It's well equipped. It's a stylish enough, mildly sporty kind of a sedan. It's got stability control.
That's a far away from a Bronco.
That's a far
Yeah,
away
but
from all
okay,
these.
so your
but,
18-year-old
yeah,
doesn't get the
he's
vehicle
got
of their dreams at 18. Well, get over it. I don't know. It's not.
You'd be surprised how many comments said that about.
They are
earlier
going
shows.
for an SUV. Maybe I think his thought is some safety. People have this mentality: to this big vehicle, you're going to be a little more safe in it, and that's not always the case. But
No. Yeah.
SUV-wise, I don't know what else.
Yeah, it's hard. Let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear what would you tell Henry to buy for his son. From Stephen Austin, I am looking for an American midsize sedan. In all caps, I don't like imports. I think he doesn't like imports. From the big three, what is the best midsize sedan? I'm leaning towards the Ford Fusion Titanium as it's all-wheel drive. How's the 2-liter caboose for maintenance? Any input about the other cars from the big three will help.
Well, that's a good choice. I mean, fuel economy is not going to be great.
The 2-liter was reliable in its first year. The 1.6 was a mess.
Right. So no problem there. Another alternative would be the Buick Regal, which is probably not on his radar screen.
It's on
but
no one's radar screen.
it comes with all-wheel drive and driving dynamics. It's kind of in the same vein as the Fusion. It's a very Euro-centric kind of a car. And if you want a Volkswagen Passat, that does come with an all-wheel drive, but it's made in Tennessee.
Well, you see, I love these kinds of comments because is it un-American to buy a Honda Accord that's made in Ohio?
Subaru Legacy's made.
For some people it is, yeah.
It is.
Actually, you know what? For some people it is. But I mean, to be fair, Subaru Legacy's built in America, all-wheel drive. The new one's a terrific car. That's just coming out.
I
I think he's on the right track with that Fusion. I think
Fusion's
that's one
a
of the
nice
best
car.
mid-size sedans right now.
What about the Chrysler 200?
Doesn't drive as well.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Also smaller. Like, you got less room in the back seat.
And don't get an old 200.
Yeah. And it's too new.
I don't think anyone's going to make that.
It's too new, so they probably haven't fixed the bugs yet.
Yeah, that's true. It just came out. In fact, we're just buying ours. That's going to wrap it up for this episode. As always, thank you for watching.